Hey guys, my name is Adam, and today I have a Rome Total War commentary. So, for those of you guys who don't know what Rome Total War is, which I'm sure there's some of you, it is a strategy game. It's a very unique strategy game. It's very old, and it's something that I spent most of my childhood playing. This is actually my first game back. I haven't been back to this game in quite a long time, a couple of months now, and I definitely am happy to be back. It's one of my favorite strategy games of all time, and of course Rome 2 is going to be coming out later in the year, so I figured I would give this a go. Anyway, I am playing as the Macedonians in this particular game, and my ally, this is actually a 2v2, is playing as the SPQR Romans, as you can see over here. So, we'll take a look at my army build, and then we'll move over towards my ally. I actually brought 6 sets of Royal Pikemen. I am using CWB rule set for this game as well. That was the rules that the host actually set down, so I ended up following them. My Royal Pikemen are gold each, meaning they have gold attack and gold defense. Then I have 5 sets of Cretan archers, which is actually a pretty potent bow force. I usually don't bring this many archers, especially in Rome because they were less than effective. But sometimes it's good to get a lot of harassment. Sometimes. It really depends on who you're versing. Sadly, I ended up going against the Romans. I was hoping I'd go more against the Seleucids and they would bring pikemen. But unfortunately, I'm stuck against Romans who have very large shields, and it's kind of tough for my archers to do much damage. But it works out in the end. Then I have 6 sets of companion cavalry with gold upgrades, which is pretty good. That's actually a pretty good cavalry force. In CWB rules, the max cav you can have is 8. And my opponent, sadly, took full advantage of that and brought 8 sets of very powerful Praetorian cavalry. The trouble is that he doesn't actually have upgrades on these. So he does have the numbers advantage, but unless he can outflank, he's going to be in quite a bit of trouble. Also, my opponent has 4 sets of Archer Auxilia, and then the rest of his army is composed of urban cohorts, which are unupgraded as well. So he definitely went for the numbers build. Roman units do cost a bit more. Over here, he definitely pumped a ton of money into these Arcanii, I believe is what they're called. Arcani, maybe. But look at all the upgrades on these things. The little flags here represent the upgrades. So he pumped a ton of upgrades into this, and he is actually charging them straight at my ally. So I was a little bit surprised by this. I'm not quite sure how much damage these things do. I focus on my field mainly for this battle, but I don't know. We'll take a look. I'm pretty sure that he's not going to do much damage here. He's charging straight into pretty much a line of urban cohorts, so it's not going to work well. Also, these urban cohorts are throwing their spears, so that's pretty much going to mark the end of these. And actually, they're already routing, so very, very poor use of his money right there. Anyway, my ally is the SPQR Romans, and he has a mix of Legionary First Cohort and Urban Cohort. He also has a Arcani himself, although he did not spend as much money on it. His general is inside of a Urban Cohort unit as well. He actually did pump a lot of upgrades into this one. In particular, it looks like gold, and a couple experience even, so quite a lot of money devoted into his general, which is generally a good idea. Also, the Legionary First Cohort have a lot more units in them than the Urban Cohorts, but they're less efficient in combat. Anyway, these Arcani are actually staying around a lot longer than my ally probably wants. But anyway, across from him he has the Seleucids, and the problem right now is the Arcani are really bunching up the Roman forces, and these archers can get a lot of really solid shots. Although it doesn't look like he took full advantage, he's now just going to move up and start firing right after the Arcani rout. So not a great use of time there, but he's going to start returning fire. Anyway, there's a bunch of Silver Shield Legionnaires, which is pretty surprising. Usually you'll see a lot more pikemen. In this case, he still does have 6, though, so I guess that works. He also has a couple of Phalanx pikemen in the back here, just to round out his army. His general is actually in a Silver Shield Pikeman unit. Personally, I prefer putting a general in a Silver Shield Legionnaires when I'm playing as the Seleucids. That's just because I believe they have access to certain formations that will make them a little harder to kill. The problem with these Silver Shield Pikemen is they have really small shields, so archers can tear these guys to pieces, which is why I wanted to go against them. But that's okay, because right over here, we're having a cavalry fight. So, I decided to engage a little bit over here. This is not my whole cavalry force. This is actually just 4 of them. Then I have 2 more still in the back. This was actually a mistake. I should have brought all of my cavalry around. I didn't really need to keep those 2 over there to defend because I did have a lot of pikes. What I should have done was completely wrap around these guys and finish them off quickly. There I do have one of my companion cavalry rout, but I am winning on pretty much every other front. Right here you can see some Praetorian cavalry routing. But he's going to engage with these other 4 sets of Praetorian cavalry. I do try to get a little bit of a counter charge, but that's really not enough. It's a shame, too, because, I don't know, if I could win this cavalry fight, then he would be pretty much done. He spent a load of money on his cav, but I do a lot of damage, and I'm thinking about charging in right here. I don't think I do. Yeah, I'm going to pull off, and I do have archers up here. These guys have been taking pot shots at the enemy cavalry during that whole engagement, so I'm getting a lot more kills that way. Meanwhile, he's going to try and run into me, and now I'm going to turn around right as he's trying to turn around, catch him a little off guard. He's not actually fighting me at this point, so I can pick off some easy kills. That's something you should always try to force your opponent into doing, and I'm going to get a lovely charge on the back of these Praetorians. He's actually going to turn around now, but the problem is I've brought up a Royal Pikeman, and this is going to turn the battle quite heavily. Pikemen in cavalry, yeah, it's just death all over the place. But, certainly no guaranteed kill here. And I'm going to drop the phalanx. I guess the real problem that I would have faced is he did do that outflank, and if my cavalry would have routed, then I could have been in a bit of trouble. But luckily, I had good luck, and I was able to finish off all this cavalry. You can see that there's just starting a mash rout now. Alright. So, the interesting thing is that the Seleucid and Roman engagement over here didn't really do too much. As you can tell, the my Roman ally winning over here, actually put all of his guys in his tight formation. So, unfortunately for my opponent, or rather his opponent, those archers are going to be less than effective. So, that is all that is happening on the Roman front. Because the Seleucids can't actually do anything now, they're just going to run over to their ally. Anyway, I won the cavalry engagement, which is always quite a nice thing to have happen. I don't believe any of them are actually going to return, and I'm going to try to get a little bit of a cheap charge, and I do get a couple of kills. Given that there was only 4 cav here, I think it was a good choice to just charge in here. It's not a big deal, and I'm actually getting a lot more kills than I would have expected. You start off with, how many units? 42, and I've taken them down to 37. So 5 kills on their general unit. That is the one with upgrades as well, so that's pretty good. I think I like that decision. I also made them waste some of their spears, which is always quite nice. They only have a limited supply. I believe it's like 2 or 3 rounds of spears, so it's kind of difficult for them to waste. Alright, so he charged the remaining bits of cavalry that he had into my archer line, but because there was only like 4, it didn't even do a thing, so not a big deal at all. And there goes his last cavalryman, so doesn't quite work out for him. The problem that me and my ally are going to face right now is the fact that both of these armies have regrouped. Now, to be honest, my ally is way too far away right now. He should be way closer to me. The problem that could easily happen right now is they could just bunch up and charge at me and kill me before my ally can even get over here with his army. So he should have really been moving right when this Seleucid army started moving. That's the problem that I think he really could have avoided. Anyway, my opponent here, Master of Disaster, is going to put his shields up, and he's not going to allow my archers to do any more damage than they normally would. I'm not quite sure what I was doing here. I had a lot of micro mistakes, and that's just because I'm getting back just right now, so it's to be expected. Anyway, I'm making his general unit waste some more of those spears. He's going to just chuck them at archers in loose formation, which is always a really bad idea. And my ally had a stroke of brilliance here, and he charged with all of his Praetorian cavalry straight into the general unit that was already injured. And then I charge in with my companion cavalry. And guess whose general is going to die off of that? Yeah, not too great for him. Now, the real problem right now is that if these spear units can get into the fray, then he could kill off all the cavalry, which is not very good. My Roman ally actually spent a lot of money on that cav, so it'd be really bad if all of them ended up getting killed. Sadly, this general unit is still alive with 7 men. They didn't even rout, which is quite surprising. There is the general right there. He is lucky to be alive, I can tell you that much, but right now, these Romans are completely overextending. I don't actually know what I do here. I believe I give the runaway command, but he's actually going to break off. Now, I'm really cautious about spears. The Roman spears can easily cripple an army. I hate it when they use the dangerous pointy, I believe, or peony, whatever it's called. Can't really remember at this point, but those spears can easily cause a mash rout. Anyway, I'm going to charge my archers in. They're going to absorb most of the spear damage, and I think this was a very good choice. These archers are actually out of ammo, so letting them absorb the spears is perfectly fine. They do rout instantly, but I don't actually care. I think that's the important thing to remember here. Anyway, you can see that I do have a lot of spears, but sadly they're wasting them all on routing archers. So not so great. Also, I'm going to charge my companion cavalry, what's left of it, into this urban cohort unit. They're going to get torn to shreds, but it really doesn't matter at the end of the day, because now I'm going to move in with my army, and at some point I'm going to tell my ally to engage with me. You can see that he has moved over towards the Seleucid flank. The problem, I guess, is that a lot of Silver Shield pikemen are here, and if they can keep the Romans at a distance, it's going to be a bit of a problem, but there's so many urban cohorts and legionary first cohorts that they can completely outflank and attack from the back. There's a lot of different ways this formation could turn out, but now I'm going to start engaging with my phalanx line, and my ally is going to charge his cavalry right into these Roman backs, and it's going to cause pretty much a mass rout. Right there you can see all of them routed. Now, that was a huge mistake by my opponent. He really should have kept the remainder of his army inside of the Seleucid formation. Romans can fight really well when supported. So, for example, if I were to engage the Silver Shields or even the pikemen, then, quite frankly, his Romans could jump into the fight as well and cause a lot of damage. So, not a very good use of resources there. Alright. Well, I am now moving up with my Royal Pikemen, and my ally is moving up with his Legionary First Cohorts and Urban Cohorts, so we're pretty much doing a V-shape, which is always nice to have. This is a common formation, I'm going to be honest. In Rome Total War's multiplayer, you're going to see a lot of players box in under pressure. They're going to box like this, especially if they have a Phalanx faction. You're going to see this all the time. The problem is that he doesn't actually have enough units to cover all of the sides. So he's left a very weak urban cohort and the urban cohort general to defend a whole side. And as you can see, my ally is now massing his cavalry. It's kind of a problem when you can't have this whole area covered, is it not? Anyway, now I'm going to start the engagement. I do have a lot of micro lapses here. It's my first game back, so please forgive me. But as you can tell, my ally is now going to run straight into these urban cohorts. They are unable to hold the line because, let's be honest, they are pretty injured. Now, all to the Seleucid's credit, he is going to charge a Silver Shield pikeman into this mix, but because he is doing that, he can't actually outflank me right now, so that's a big mistake by him. Anyway, Rome is obviously glitchy. Yeah, you stabbed that air. Good job. There, they're going to rout. But on all other fronts, I'm winning quite handily. I don't have these guys on defensive formation, so they're pushing in, which is something that you definitely want to do. If you just stand here and your opponent's just standing there, then you're not going to do any damage. The only reason you want to stay on defensive is if your opponent is trying to attack you. Right now, he's trying to sit still, and I'm pushing in. That's the problem. So, quite frankly, things are going really well. I believe that my Roman ally has used all of his spears, which cause quite a lot of damage, and he's going to charge in here very soon. The cavalry is getting in the mix as well. He's going to try and outflank me. I'm going to move my general to intercept that, and it's going pretty well. This is a dangerous situation, though. It's very smart of him to focus down my general, because if my general dies, Macedon is kind of a barbarian faction, so you will rout rapidly if your general is dead, so you need to be very careful. He's doing a really good outflank, and I'm a little worried about this. I send in a unit that has come back from routing into the fight, and I'm going to stab him in the back just a little bit. And ironically, that's where his general dies. So, good job. Very good job. You were cowards and ran away, but you came back and killed the enemy general. So, I kind of have to be happy. Also, I'm charging these Cretan archers that came back from routing into the fight as well. They're kind of getting cut down by these the phalanx formation of the Seleucids, but it doesn't really matter. At this point, I'm just trying to stall him. This unit is obviously going to die, but it gives my general the opportunity to actually push in this direction. And on all our points, my team is pretty much winning at this point. As you can see, a lot of Romans have collided. I do believe that he actually ran a couple of Roman units all the way around and into this flank area, which is, I don't know, that's quite a jog. I'm surprised that the Seleucids didn't actually counter that, but I guess not. Alright, so this is still a little scary. There's 2 units on 1 unit here. The 2 Seleucid pikemen versus the 1 Macedonian pikeman. So I get a little bit worried here, and I'm going to split off 1 unit of Royal Pikemen, I believe right now. Yep. So I moved this Royal Pikeman unit. There's 47 men in here, which is quite substantial, and I'm going to go for the outflank. My general is doing really well. He's cutting them down at a rapid rate, and I think he actually could have won this on his own, but I didn't want my general to die, so I'm going to completely outflank, and there goes the Seleucid general. He is a coward. And actually the general's dead, so I guess it's just his bodyguard. I have no idea why they stayed and fought, but now the Seleucids are completely surrounded. Not a very good luck for them. That's actually really bad luck, because they're surrounded by Romans and pikes. So if they charge at the Romans, they'll die to the superior hand-to-hand combat specialists, but if they run in the other direction, they'll be impaled by a spear. So not so great. Not so great at all. Yeah, at this point, the Romans are just completely overlapping, and there's no way Seleucids can fight Romans. If it gets into hand-to-hand combat, it's over. Romans are just too powerful for Seleucids. It's incredible, really. That being said, I was facing a Roman as well. He just could not handle the pike formation. So, I don't know which is better. To be fair, their general unit did die pretty quick, so it's kind of rough when any general dies. Even if you're not a barbarian faction, your men do have a lot lower morale at that point. Alright, so all of the Seleucids are starting to rout at this point. And pretty soon we're going to see a chain rout just because of all of these Romans in the back. They're going to come crashing into this formation, and that's just going to be it. As you can tell, we're already seeing some routing, and there we go. There's the mash rout. At this point, my opponents just actually leave, but there's a couple archer units back there, so let's speed it up just a tad bit. The enemy is routing at this point. So, these Seleucid archers are the last men on the field. They're trying to take some pot shots. Not such a great idea. Now we're all just going to come running down the hill as fast as we can. Sadly, that horseman did die, but there goes an archer unit. I believe this is actually going to be the last one to rout. So there we go. Hope you guys enjoyed that. This is my first game back. I'm going to try to bring you a lot more of these, especially over the next coming months, because Rome 2 is coming out, which should be pretty interesting. I definitely hope there's some changes to the gameplay, like making Rome not so powerful, but so far so good. As you can tell, I got the most kills here, which is actually pretty strong. 944 kills in a medium-sized troop count game is pretty good. It's actually pretty strong. The Seleucids did get a lot of kills as well, mainly on me, which is kind of the ironic thing, but I don't know. Yeah. It worked pretty well, I think. It was kind of a slaughter at the end of the day. Macedon and the Romans is a great combo if you can combine them really well together, and you have a very unique build. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think in the comments section, and I will see you in future videos.